Hello, Facebook, and welcome. This is Quintessential Soul, and I am Shannon Wilson. I am the preaching chef as well as the owner, operator of Quintilla's Kitchen. Tonight, I just want to say thank you and welcome to Mr. Keandre Harris for being in the kitchen. Yay! Oh, we're not going to show him. We're not going to pan? Okay. Yes. Quick pan. Quick pan. Thank you so much, Keandre. We are going to have a caprese salad tonight, and this works very well. Keandre is a vegetarian, and so caprese salad is generally just tomatoes, basil, and mozzarella cheese. The twist that we're doing tonight is we're going to add it to a sandwich, and we're going to use the panini to make it real nice and real tasty. I also have chicken to add to mine and to Aaron's, should we want that, because we're not vegetarians. So let's get started. First, we're just gonna go ahead and put some butter on our bread. And while we're doing that, our subject for tonight is align your will with God's. Align your will with God's. And the scripture text that came to my heart when I was thinking about how do you align your will with God's was the scripture in Luke chapter 22 talking about how Jesus went with the disciples into the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. And when he got there, he left the disciples praying and he went a little bit further in. And we're going to go ahead and assemble one of our sandwiches here. So he went a little bit further on in so that he could pray a little bit more. And while he was praying, he said, Father, if it's possible, if it's at all possible, could you please allow this cup to pass from me? And he said, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. And so in that moment is a perfect example of Jesus aligning his will with God's will. He did not want to go through that in that moment. He did not want to have to go through that. So we've got our mozzarella. We're going to place our basil. However, that was something that he had to do. It had to happen. I think I'm going to use a little bit skinnier tomato on that part, and we're going to top it with our other slice. We'll put that in the middle. And we'll let that cook for just a few minutes while we're assembling the next one. And this is just some Italian bread. It only costs $1. It's got a little bit of seasoning on it, so that's going to give us some more flavor. So we're just going to go ahead and put some butter on the other pieces of bread. And I've mixed a little bit of Italian seasoning into the butter. So again, that's going to give our panini some flavor. All right. So I'm going to read a little bit to you from Luke chapter 22, starting in verse 40. And it says this, and when he was at the place, he said unto them, pray that ye enter not into temptation. And he was talking to the disciples. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, meaning he went a little bit further up the road, about as far of a distance as you could throw a stone. He kneeled down to pray. So he was still within listening distance of the disciples. And he said, when he started praying, I'm going to get a spatula. He said, Father, if it's possible. Now, I'm not saying that it's possible, but if it was at all possible, please allow this cup to pass from me. And he said, nevertheless, not my will, but thine will be done. But thine be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven and strengthened him. So, I looked up the word align. What does align mean? Align means to get into a straight line. It means to get into order. And so when you're aligning your will with God's, then we're starting from the position already knowing that my will is not matching his. God's will is in this straight line here. My will is off on a tangent. God, me. So what I have to do is correct, so that I can align my will with God's will. How do we do that? Excellent question. In this instance, Jesus did that through prayer. And, I believe that that's really the only way that we can do it. We have to be able to talk to God. We have to be able to communicate well with him, because I can't do it on my own. Because number one, I don't want to. It doesn't feel good to align my will. It doesn't feel good. Blessings to you as well. It doesn't feel good to bring myself into order. I'm going to put more mozzarella. That doesn't feel good. And so in order for me to be able to align my will to God's, I've got to bend, I've got to move, I've got to stretch, I've got to be broken sometimes. Jesus was able to align his will even in this moment of fear and apprehension of what was coming next. Obviously, he knew what his destiny was, but that doesn't make it any easier. That doesn't make it any easier. When you know you're facing death, you know you're facing, certain death. It is going to happen. So, but he bent his will to align to the Father's will. And that's where we need to find ourselves. So, my point number one is bend your will to God's by any means necessary. Whatever you got to do, whoever you need to pray for you, if you need to go on a consecration and a fast, if you need to get before God on a regular daily basis, whatever you have to do to get your will in alignment with God's will, then you need to do that. Why? Because God's will is going to prevail anyway. God's will is going to prevail anyway. God's going to have his way. He's going to do what he needs to do in your life. The great thing about God is that he gives us free will. But in addition to giving us free will, he also gives us commands that we need to follow. He gives us a path. He guides and orders our footsteps. He lets us know through preaching, teaching, prophesying. I don't know how many people don't have a prophetic word. Somebody will come up to you. Your life is supposed to be like this. People will speak to you all the time. I'm sure, Keandre, young man, this is what I see for you. I see God's hand on you. And when you're under leadership, good leadership like we are at Urban Empowerment, you're going to get spoken to into your life all the time, because our bishop and pastor hear from God. They see, they know, and they will speak into your life and let you know this is what God has for you. And that is an amazing experience. And so since you already know that that's what God has for you, bend your will to align with his. Point number two. Under point number one, let me just say this. There's another scripture that I wanted to share, and that is Matthew chapter 21, verse 44. Matthew chapter 21, verse 44. And it says this: "And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken. But on whomsoever the stone shall fall, it will grind him to powder." So what's that saying? That's saying you need to bend your will to God's will. Because if you do not, whereas something may have just broken you in a place where you could be put back together again, you might just run into something that's going to crush your whole world into powder, where you won't be able, nobody can put those pieces back together again but God. If it's possible to put those pieces back together again, he's the only one that would be able to help you out in that situation. So you want to fall on the stone and be broken. You want to go ahead and make your will align with God's, rather than trying to just do your own thing and make it turn out your own way. That's really not wise. we really want to make sure that our will aligns with God's will. You just wanted cheese and chicken, right? No basil, no tomato, right?
Basil.
Basil? Okay. So, yeah. So, point number 2, get in line. Get in line no matter what it takes. Get in line no matter what anybody else is saying. And when you get in line, stay in line. Don't move. Get yourself in alignment with the will of God. Why? Because when you're in alignment with God's will, when you're in alignment with your assignment, God does so many things on your behalf. He becomes your Jehovah Gabor. He becomes your Jehovah Jireh. He becomes your Jehovah Nisi. If you're needing somebody to fight for you, he will fight for you. If you're needing somebody to take care of you and make sure that your needs are taken care of, he will do that. I was thinking today during intercessory prayer, God is everything to us at one time. It is so powerful when he says, I am that I am, because he's everything at one time. I don't just need one thing. I don't just need healing. On the same time that I need healing, I also need food. I also need shelter. I also need a covering. I also need peace. It's amazing to me that he can go to war on my behalf, be my Jehovah Gabor, and at the same time be Jehovah Shalom, giving me peace. I'm at peace even when there's chaos all around. Why? Because the battle is not mine. It is the Lord's. And so even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of storm, I still have peace. I still can look around and be like, it's a lot of stuff going on, but I'll keep my eyes on the hills from which comes my help, because my help comes from the Lord. I don't have to worry because the battle's not mine. And even though the battle's not mine, I can still gear up. I will gear up. I'll put on the breastplate of righteousness and the helmet of salvation and have my feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Why? Because God's got my back. So I can just stand there while he is fighting, while he's going to war, Jehovah Gabor going to war on my behalf. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. That's all I have to do. I'm geared up. I'm just standing still and watching God do his thing. So that was point number 2. Get in line no matter what you're experiencing through your natural senses, because your natural senses will lie to you. They will lie to you. Your eyes will lie to you. You'll be thinking, I'm seeing some stuff that I really shouldn't be seeing. I'm hearing some things that I wish I hadn't heard. Don't worry about what your natural instincts, your natural senses, that input that's coming in, because it is not the whole story. It's not even the real story, because the real story is what's happening in the spiritual realm. And that's where we need to be in tune to. So get in line and stay in line no matter what's happening. And the third point is steady yourself. Steady yourself. One of the things that is so difficult to do, particularly when we're talking about aligning our will with God's will, is to steady ourselves, to be still, and just to let God. It's hard not to put your hand on it. It's hard. I struggle with that. I do. I struggle with it. Even as a seasoned saint, even people might say, well, you a clergy, you a minister. Why are you still struggling? Because the natural instinct is for you to put your hand on it. It takes discipline. It takes the Lord. It takes the Holy Ghost for you to take your hands off of a situation and let go and let God. It really does take all of that. So we are done with our paninis. We have one for each person to meet their desires. Our caprese salad paninis. And caprese salad is, again, back to the beginning of the broadcast, it's very simple, but it's very delicious. It is simply tomatoes, basil, and mozzarella cheese. And you wouldn't think that that combination would be so delicious. But it is tremendously tasty. Keandre, this is yours. Thank you. There you go. And Aaron, this one on the end is yours. We're gonna get on into that. I think yours looks really, really good. Of course, should have got a sharper knife. And that one is yours. And finally, we've got the last one, which has everything on it. Yeah, we needed an actual cutting knife, not a butter knife. But there you go. So that's it right there. And it has the chicken, it has the basil, it has the tomato, and it is going to be tasty. Keandre, take a taste for that and let me know what you think, sir. It's very crunchy.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
And is that something that you can make on your own, you think?
Definitely.
Yeah. The basil is sold anywhere they sell fresh herbs, and it comes just like that all together as it is on the stem. And then for you, of course, because you're a vegetarian, just tomatoes that you like. I saw some heirloom tomatoes in the store, so that's good. If you get them from the farmer's market, you know you're going to get fresh tomatoes then. And there's mozzarella that is already sliced. Makes it a lot easier. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you being with us this evening on Quintessential Soul. This has been Caprese Salad, and we thank you for your support. Thank you for sharing with your followers and your friends and your tribe, and thank you for watching on the replay. Good night.